virtual, social media. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, thank you very much for joining us. Let me just give you a telephone number where you can call in. That telephone number is 857-799-9641. Again, 857-799-9641. This is our 35th week of hosting these town hall meetings, and we hope that the information that we have been providing that you find it very helpful, as well as helps you to navigate through these uncertain times. So again, thank everyone for joining us. Tonight we have special guests with us. A few months ago we had our Eastern School District join us. Tonight we have them back again. We have our Eastern School Superintendent, Mr. Hassan. We also have the Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Ms. Champagne, who will be joining us tonight via Zoom. We also have with us that really have been in the forefront of this COVID-19 here in the city of East Orange for these 35 weeks that we have been hosting these shows, and that's no other than Dr. Monique Griffin, Director of Department of Health and Human Services. And we also have with us our Health Officer, Victor Cote, who has also been in the forefront of this COVID-19. So again, we're just so happy that all of you have joined us tonight. We know for the past really few months with these town hall meetings, many of our parents who probably are on tonight, along with our students, faculty, staff, really want to get into a conversation about what direction are we going with our school district. And tonight we'll give all those questions and concerns that folks have been, emailing me, coming on social media, emailing the school district, calling the school district. So we're going to ask that all of y'all kind of bear with us tonight, because normally what we do, we try to get our COVID numbers out and have Dr. Griffin really engaged in terms of where this COVID going. But tonight I kind of want to take a different route in terms of really letting our school superintendent and Ms. Champagne and Dr. Harvey really get into some of the questions that all of you really want to know about in terms of where we're going, in terms of the openings of our schools here in the city of East Orange. So again, Mr. Hassan, Ms. Champagne, and Ms. Harvest, thank y'all for being here. Mr. Superintendent, listen, I'm going to give you the opportunity to talk about where we're going with the school district, about the opening, what the procedures are, and where our kids should be doing in terms of making sure that they get educated.
Well, thank you, Mayor Ted Green. I truly appreciate the work and the collaboration that we've been working on thus far. It's truly challenging times with the pandemic, and we're doing the best we can. As the state of New Jersey, we all in the same boat of trying to educate our students while being in this health pandemic. I also want to just thank Dr. Griffin and Mr. Corte, because they've been a critical part of our decision making. So I truly appreciate their input as we move forward through this pandemic. So again, my name is Mr. Hassan. I'm the superintendent of the East Orange School District. I have my colleagues here, Dr. Harvest and also Ms. Champagne, to take questions. And we know this is challenging, so please be patient with us. Please be flexible, and please adjust and adapt. As you start to see around the state of New Jersey, many school districts are starting to move and push their days back to either January, and I've seen as of even yesterday, some districts have pushed theirs to early February. So I always say you don't want to be first, but you don't want to be last. So I always want to make sure that I'm talking to my peers to see where we're at. And that's across the state of New Jersey, just not Essex County. So I just really want to just thank the mayor again, because on November the 4th, we've been working on it for about 2 weeks prior, just having meetings with the mayor and with local health to make decisions on the East Orange School District of where we're going. And so I really want to thank the Board of Education, many stakeholders, parents that were involved in this process. And at that meeting, we had decided that the students will go full remote Tuesday, January the 19th, 2021, and stay full remote. And only students that will come back is our vulnerable populations as well as our pre-K students. And they will only come to school 2 days a week at that time, because our goal is always to service our students and give them the best that we have. And it was truly enjoyable to see some of the pre-K students inside the classroom, even though some of the students had the opportunity to opt out and not attend school. So it was truly like an average of like 4 to 5 kids in some classrooms, as well as our vulnerable populations, seeing them in schools engaged in the learning process, wearing their masks, social distancing, and the teachers were doing well with them. But as we understand, the curve is going in a different direction. So, in the collaboration at the last Board of Ed meeting that was November the 10th, it was decided by the stakeholders that participated that the students now we would include the pre-K as well as the vulnerable populations to stay home as well for the safety of our students. So we truly care about the safety of our students. And we had the staff also. Our teachers started to come back to work October the 5th. Some districts did not bring the teachers back, and some did. We have to understand that in the state of New Jersey, it's about 650 school districts. Out of those 650 school districts, 70% of the state is actually open with kids going to school. So we do understand that different counties have different impacts, and that's why we make the decision what is best for East Orange. So, but I just wanted to put that caveat out there for people to understand that it is students that are actually going to school in New Jersey and schools that did not close and they're not even changing things. Some schools are concerned with holiday travel, with Thanksgiving and Christmas, so they are making provisions to their schedule as it relates to that. And we included that as well, but we also think about what the great things that the mayor is doing with the city and his team as they're trying to think about what Essex County look like as we border the city of Newark. So in consultation on November the 10th, we decided to put the pre-K and the vulnerable populations on full remote to January the 19th, 2021. We also want you to know that we will reassess in January to determine whether it's even a good time to bring the kids back at that time. And we will create a phasing plan to think about how we're going to bring the students back into the district. The decision was made based upon holiday travel, the influenza season, coupled by the upswing of COVID-19 in Essex County and in the city of East Orange. So, we're trying to do our best with you all. We're going to try to continue to provide support to you all as much as you need. Please continue to contact my office, contact the key leaders of the district. If you have tech issues, please look at the website. The phone number is on the website for you to follow up on anything that you need. So, Mayor, again, I just want to thank you for allowing me to give me this time that I could just share some thoughts about the East Orange School District.
Okay, thank you, because I do have some questions, and I know that parents are eager to hear the direction that we're taking as a team, because it was a team effort to come up with the direction that we're going in terms of our school system. Please tell us how did you come to the decision to remain virtual through January 19, 2021?
Well, Mayor, I would tell you it was definitely a tough decision. Our many superintendents, it's like lonely at the top at this point for all of us. And we do try to stay engaged in the Essex County community. So I do try to talk to my peers in Essex County. And as I start to see Essex County moving in a different direction, I immediately contact myself, Dr. Harvest, and Ms. Champagne, and immediately contact the local health to be a part of this collaborative decision, as well as the mayor, to make sure we are all moving as one step forward. So in that discussion, Mayor, we have all decided that we need to move for the best interests of our staff and our students. So even though the staff will be coming back, my intent was the staff will come back 4 days a week, but after consultation with local health, they will come back 2 days a week. The focus is also to make sure we have a solid contact tracing plan, which we've been doing. We have had minimal positive cases in our district, but most of the positive cases that have been coming in our district is really because of community spread. And it's really concerned for our staff, so we try to make it where it's more palatable for them to come to work and try to be safe inside our facilities. And we're just trying to do the best that we can. And if it tends to go in another direction, we will contact local health and make the best decision at that time, sir.
And that is good. And that kind of leads me to my next question. Are the students and teachers required to get tests in terms of the COVID? And if so, how often?
So that's a good question, Mayor. The state of New Jersey has not required students and staff to take tests. We do require them to take tests when it's a fact, when a contact tracing situation arises, that we will make those appropriate recommendations with collaborations of health. So everything is in unison. So anytime there's an issue in our district, Dr. Harvest immediately contact health. It's a collaboration on the next step. So not that we can't mandate, but we can mandate when it's appropriate.
Right, and which is important, because we quite often talked about that in terms of making sure, because listen, none of us can control what people do after 4:30 when they get out of school, where they go, who they're around. So all of us have to be responsible also, you know, as adults, teenagers, and our young people. Um, what are some of the guidelines has the district implemented to keep the students and the school and the teachers and the staff safe? What's some of the guidelines y'all put in place?
Well, thank you, Mayor, for that question too, as well. So we definitely want to thank our national federal office and our local state for giving us CARES money, and we took the CARES money to actually purchase the things that we need for school in the sense of all aspects of PPE. Some stuff is with some, as you start to see around the state, some things are on back order. But
Right.
majority of the stuff that we do have. So I always tell teachers, if there are concerns in your schools, please talk to the principals, because we did deliver the bulk amount of PPE to every school. But if there's any questions, please contact your principal. Contact with the New Jersey Department of Education put out was your school pandemic team. So each school is supposed to have every school in the state of New Jersey are to have a pandemic response team that they should be consulting about issues dealing with their school-specific issues.
Right.
So they should contact that team, contact your building principals. We all have budgets that we can purchase additional PPE or different things that you may need germane to your school. So we don't have a problem with that. If people need air filter, air purifier in a classroom, we're trying to accommodate that
Right.
based upon needs.
Right.
So depending on what the need is what we provide. But the basic stuff that are mandated by CDC when it comes to masks, hand sanitizer, signage, all that stuff is in place, sir.
Listen, we know how tedious all this can be, man, so good job. Are students, my question is, there are concerns that the pre-K students and students with IEPs are still coming into the schools and will increase their in-person learning from 2 days to 4 days. Tell us why you have the particular group of students, which you just really talked about, but I know parents still think that's in place, coming into the schools, and what protocols are in place to protect their health. And you just talked about that, where you're going in terms of what you were talking about then until now in January, but you can just give an overview, man, again, so the parents can know.
So Dr. Harvest, if you want to just, I answered a little bit of it. If you want to just talk about IEPs a little bit with how we want to take care of students.
So the majority of the students that were our most vulnerable population, we brought them into the school because there were certain supports that they needed that they weren't getting at home. So we did have them coming in the 2 days a week. It was our intent, if we were able to bring the rest of the students in for 1 day a week, that we were going to increase their time in school 4 days a week. However, now since we are not going to have the whole entire district will be on fully remote status, they will not be coming in. And we can still give them their services at home. However, the services are more valuable when they're in school. A lot of our students have occupational or physical therapy. Yes, you can have a teacher stand in front of the screen and show the students what it is that they're supposed to do. However, a parent has to be right there assisting them along the way. So sometimes they weren't able to get the full benefit of the occupational and physical therapy. The same thing with speech. It's much different if I'm a speech pathologist and I'm talking to you and I'm showing you how to make the sounds and you're right across from me, as opposed to you, and I have to maintain your focus as well as teach you what it is that I need you to do through the screen. So that now that we're going to go back on full remote status, the students will still have those supports in their IEP, but we'll just have to do it
Great.
virtually.
And Ms. Champagne, you can chime in anytime you want. This is a discussion about the school district, so I don't want any of y'all to think that you can't chime in. I mean, if you want to have further information or chime in on that conversation, all of you are welcome, even Dr. Griffin and Victor, if you just feel like chiming in. So also, we received numerous of calls relating to teachers having to report to their respective schools, even though the classes are being held remotely. Please explain the rationale behind, ordering the teachers to come in now, so 2 days a week?
Yes.
Yeah, just give an overview of that. You already did, but, I got this
So
question.
we did was sustain what we already had. So the teachers were coming in 2 days a week, teaching from the classrooms. All they got to do is come in, go through the protocols of the screening, then go into the classrooms, and they close their door and just teach right from the classroom. They don't have to maintain contact with anybody outside of that. Maybe one person if they had an actual TA, but the TA can have their social distancing in space. So really, it
Okay.
should be no more than about two people probably in the classroom, and that's counting a TA if that warrants it. Most of them should just go into the classroom, just teach from the classroom. But we had concerns and thanking Dr. Griffin and Mr. Corte in reference to the hard decision that they would just stay. We were bringing them in for 4 days a week, but That was a concern because we were concerned about the community spread. So we're going to sustain what we have right now because it is working. So we're just going to do with the 2 days, just 2 days a week. The goal would be is that you do with cohort groups of a Monday and Tuesday cohort and then a Thursday, Friday cohort, which is easier for contact tracing.
Right.
So that's the intent. And if we have to go another direction based upon health concerns and the curve, we will make that decision.
Right. Wow, that is important. Are your overall expectations of students the same or different from traditional school? Please explain the traditional compared to the,
Ms. Champagne, do you want to just take that question, Ms. Champagne?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor and Superintendent Hassan, for allowing me to be part of the discussion. When you talk about traditional schools, I believe that the argument has been the change in what a traditional school setting should look like for the past 20 years or so. Whether or not we still have rows in the classroom or we're beginning to do more innovative things. By us going remote and doing distant learning, what it is doing is showing us all the different avenues in which we can meet students where they are. I mean, being forced into this situation, if you're talking about looking at lemons and how can we make lemonade, then we have to be creative with that. What it does, though, is it also speaks to a learning curve not just for the students, but a learning curve for the teachers as well, too. So there has to be ongoing professional development. We have to be also growing and enhancing our skill sets when we're talking about educating the students and how do they really grasp the material, sustain the material, and that I believe on the last time I was welcomed to the town hall, we really have to talk about that village part of it. Being a parent, not just an educator, but a parent as well. I know that often I have to say to my own child, oh, get up, sit at the table, make sure that you're paying attention. The focus part of that there, kids being focused, and the role that the parents are now playing in education is a much greater role than before. It's not a situation where it's going to be just school, because the kids are at home. And when I'm talking about my own teenager at home, and while I'm at work, I'm wondering, is he actually on the computer, and is someone letting me know what's going on, and how we really have to have an ongoing communication between the parents, the teachers, the students, and the entire school district. So tradition, we're definitely in a non-traditional kind of educational environment. However, we should have moved to a non-traditional educational environment prior to where we are with COVID-19. So we have to become innovative. We know that the resources, we're still waiting on our laptop. I happen to be watching and looking at the chat at the same time, and so if you don't mind, I'll just chime in with some of the things that are there. I know today the superintendent definitely was adamant about he was going to call the company directly to really talk about the disgrace that this is, that we've had things on order since May and having things come into place. So one of the things that I do ask the community, right, and the parents to understand that as much as we say, well, we don't want individuals here, or that we all are suffering from the effects of what COVID-19 is doing to us, those things are also impacting what would be delivery of merchandise. It's impacting what is happening in other companies, and it is not just a situation of just one place, one location, but there's a domino effect of all of those things, and it's often the word fluid is being used, and that we need to be fluid, and that we need to be flexible, and I know that people are tired of hearing those types of terminology, but the truth is that that's the reality of exactly where we are. And that, I know that there's a question later on that talks about this transition from Google Classroom to what would be Schoology, and something that hasn't happened yet, but we do plan on doing a full implementation of that transition, because what that does is it allows for us to do a monitoring piece of it as well, too, to ensure that there is proper instruction that is taking place inside of the classroom. So we are definitely way away from traditional, and we are at all hands on, it takes a village, and to the best of our ability, ensuring that we're educating all of our students from pre-K at the providers all the way to the 12th grade.
Right, and really thank you for that, Ms. Champagne. When you talk about the village, we basically ended our weekly meeting. Oh, she's still talking. Last week, or she's delayed? Okay, I'm sorry. Last week on, when we talk about the village, right? And that brings me to this. Many parents and students are concerned about students failing their classes. How is the school district managing these concerns and providing opportunities for the students' success? Either one of y'all can chime in on that. I have no.
Ms. Champagne, are you still on?
I'm still on.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if you could just ask that question one more time, please.
It's a lot of our parents and students are concerned, which, about students failing their classes. How is this school district managing these concerns and providing opportunities for students' success? So basically just give the parents an overview of that concern, because in terms of failing, and what should the parent do, and who should they contact if they feel that their son or daughter is not getting the proper guidance in terms of his grades.
I'm going to say that the first point of contact, if they feel that something isn't going on adequately within side of the instruction, is that the parent should have a conversation with the teacher directly. I know that last year one of the mechanisms that was put in place was a teacher-parent communication with inside of Focus itself, so that the teacher and the parent can text right to the teacher any questions that they may have. If they find that at that point they're not getting the answers that they're looking for, then the next place that they should go to is they should go to their guidance counselor. Because maybe there are other supports. Maybe there's tutoring things that are being happened that are set up differently in the various schools. I know as recently as today we talked about an after-school tutor and how we would put together that program. I know that we are starting what would be a teacher, parent, student academy that was just board approved for Saturdays for our grades 1 through 5, so that we can teach the parents a week before that this is going to be the standards for the upcoming week, so that they can assist at home with that process. This is definitely a situation where we have to pull from all different avenues, and there's not just one correct answer. And that is very difficult if you're looking to please the masses, right? That a lot of times statements that are made are not necessarily global statements, but individual statements. Right. And so the more we're communicating with regards to that, then just everyone to know that we share the same concern. Myself personally, with my own child, I was terrified that maybe he didn't get adequate education remotely, and then I turned around and put him on a whole online program myself to reteach what I thought he should have learned last year. And he's at a GT program in another district. So it's just the uncertainty that's there. And with so much uncertainty, then I think that we become more successful when we're not necessarily pointing fingers, but when we're saying, here, let me volunteer my services. These are some of the ways in which we can help. Do you have this as a suggestion to be offered with regards to how it is that we can determine or assist the kids on all the academic levels? So we have several different programs. We have Freckles, we have a mirror, and we know that when you're trying to learn these programs from a remote status, that becomes difficult. And hopefully by the time we get to January, that we're no longer still in that phase of trying to implement things, but that we are fully implementing things. We are going over data with our building administrators to let them see where things have been implemented or not implemented. One of the things about when everyone is remote, it's really hard to monitor what's happening, right? And when you can't monitor what's happening, then it's only because we have information from the parent or someone contacts us and say, hey, did you know that this was going on in the classroom? Hey, did you know that we didn't have this? I mean, at the beginning of the year, with everyone remote, we had a major situation where deliveries of materials and books came, but they never were able to open up the boxes and get it to the kids because there was no one here to help with that piece of it. So really in trying to break down each aspect of it and making sense in a world that really, there's no sense in all of this. This is something that's not been done before. It's not like okay, we've been through this before, and this is what we're going to do on each part of it. The hope would be that we get better as we move forward with each piece of it, that we accept the constructive criticism that may be provided to the educational forum with this, that we get direction from the government, from the state level, from DOE, and that we take all of those things and do much like we did over the past couple of weeks, bring a committee together, and then move forward with what we believe is in the best interest of everyone.
Right, right. And listen, that is a key. The best interest of everyone. That trickles down from our superintendent to assistant superintendent, all the way down to the teachers, the students, the parents, folks in the community. Safety comes first. So listen, let me kind of jump to this, right? With this remote, we know we're going remote. How will the school district provide mandated services to children with IEPs while they are learning remotely?
Dr. Harvis.
Well, Mayor, I can talk about this.
Okay, Dr. Harris.
So as a result of our CARES Act, we were also able to order laptops for all of our staff members. We're talking about teachers. We're talking about teacher aides. We're talking about speech pathologists, child study team workers, all different people. So as we go fully remote, all of our teachers will still be able to provide those same services. So if you get speech, there will be a speech teacher giving you the speech sessions remotely. Like I said before, the occupation and physical therapy, that will still take place, but that will take place remotely. So it's not that the students will go without the services, it's just that we know that when kids are right there with you, they're more apt to really catch on. So, but however, all of the services that they are provided, they will still be done, but it will only be done virtually.
So, and thank you for that, because I think that those parents who are in that category needs to know the direction that the district is taking. So I really appreciate that. What is the best way for a parent to track a child's progress? And what is being set up in lieu of the traditional report card night?
Dr. Harvis, you want to talk about focus as it relates to tracking students' progress?
Absolutely. We have a wonderful student information system. It's called Focus. Parents are given a username and a password. Parents can sign into Focus once a day, 5 times a day, however many times they want. And when they do that, they will be able to get real time on how their child is doing academically and whether or not the child has been attending school frequently. They can sign on and they can go to any of their child's classes and they can see what their grades are. So it really shouldn't be a surprise when it's report card time, because we don't give out paper report cards anymore. Our report cards are sent to our parents via a student information system. It's just sent right there. But a parent does not have to wait until report card time. They can just log in and they will see exactly how their child is, how they're doing. And if they feel that there's some grades there and they can't quite understand what's going on, then they can get in touch with the teacher via email or calling the school to set up an appointment, which we're doing virtually. A lot of our principals are doing virtual conferences with parents. They're still doing the parent-teacher conferences. Instead of the parent coming into the school, they're having the conferences virtually. So as many things as we've been doing when the school doors were open, we're still trying to replicate them virtually. So parents still have that opportunity to have these one-on-one conversations with the teacher, and we ask them to continuously look at the student information system so that they can see exactly what their child is doing on a weekly basis.
So, Dr. Harvis, I just have to jump in because, like I said, I'm reading the news feed as well, too. And one of the things that I hear a few parents talking about is that the teachers aren't updating Focus. And I think that that's important that while we're here having this conversation, that we have teachers on as well as parents on that are listening to the things that are happening, and that when Focus isn't being updated, then that would be one of those situations where a parent would contact the guidance counselor or the parent would contact the principal to let them know that it's not being updated. As we begin to really move further and further into distance learning and remote learning, and then we talk about programs, learning management systems like Schoology. One of the reasons why Schoology was an ideal learning management system to enhance what we already have is because there is a parent component of that, a parent component that allows them to log on and see the work that's being assigned. It's also a place to see for progress monitoring of students. While Focus is our primary system as far as grades, parents are able to go into Schoology and see what's happening. And then one of the checks and balances is that parents are advocates for their children. And, you know, when they scream and holler, they have every right to scream and holler. I know as a parent that I scream and holler because I want to make sure my child is educated. So in the process of that happening, then this allows a more transparent fishbowl approach to everything that's going on. You know, when we're talking about change, I find that with any type of change that people struggle, it becomes challenging. This whole shift into what would be remote learning, it is not a challenge just for the teachers or just for the students or just for the parents or just for, you know, administration. It's a challenge for everyone as we begin to try to adapt to what would be the best course of action.
Right, and I'm glad to hear that you holler, because, you know, we got certain people in my administration, they don't holler. They just cool, calm, and collected. I'm not going to tell you who that is, but I'm just waiting for her to holler. But I like hollering. It makes me feel good. But let me ask a question, right? You know, during this COVID, for the last 9 months, 8 months, you know, a lot of people, from parents, students, have been under a lot of emotional and mental pressure, right? What programs do the school districts offer in helping students cope, or what resources are available for students who are having anxiety, emotional breakdowns, mentally breakdowns? What do the school district have in place to help our young people, families, and teachers? What is in place?
Hey, Mayor, I appreciate that question. Dr. Harvest is going to talk about it from a social emotional learning
Right,
perspective.
there you go. Yeah.
Right, so social emotional learning. So we have an acting director of student support services, and under her direction, our school counselors and social workers have really played an integral part in the social emotional learning piece. Just to talk about the month of October, we had what we called Wellness Wednesday days, and what they did do at that point in time, we talked about how well is your wellness wheel rolling. So we made sure the kids understand about the physical, emotional, social,
Right.
spiritual kinds of things. We talked about becoming great gardeners, where we focused on how students can become great gardeners by planting, watering, and nurturing positive seeds. And we talked about Lemon to Lemonade, which centered on the power of imagination, creativity, and resilience. And then we talked about Coal to Diamond, and where we discussed the importance of positive self-talk. Along with that, we know that there have been a lot of things that were going on in the community, so we provided an open forum for students who were impacted by any type of tragedy or anything that has come over with the result of this illness, to just come and have a support group and talk to each other, led by their school counselors, to help get them out of anyone who might be sliding to a depression or any of those things. So we have a wealth of resources that are out there for the kids. We know the kids really want to socialize. So a lot of our schools, you know, thankfully a lot of principals, they do recognize that. So they're having opportunities for the kids to come together virtually, not with the academics, but with karaoke's and dressing up day and dress down day and all kinds of things. So the principals and the school counselors have really come together to provide a variety of outlets so that the kids can get connected with that social piece.
How about the parents? What mechanisms do you have in place for the parents?
So we've offered workshops through curriculum department with the academics, through how to help your child, because we know that a lot of the frustration comes from parents really not understanding a lot of the, as they would say, the new math and the different things that we're offering. So we bring the parents together. What do you do when you become stressed and it becomes really not a burden, but it becomes really hard if you have 3 or 4 different children that you're trying to help with some online instruction. So what can they do for relief? We talk about mindfulness, how to just stop and just take it all in and learn how to center yourself and get into your inner being so that you can help to calm down. And then we have a lot of speakers that we will invite, and we'll have an open forum with a variety of topics that we think might be useful to parents so that they can come in and hear what the speakers have to offer.
Right.
I will have to say, Mr. Mayor, that a lot of times, I know we recently had an SAT parent workshop, and we had one parent that showed up, and that was for all 3 high schools. So when we talk about that village piece of it there, then we're trying to do things on different times, so we're getting ready to try to start offering workshops on Saturday, like Saturday morning, 9 or 10 o'clock, hoping that that's a better time that suits the parents. And while individuals are putting things in a news feed here, then even indicating some times that are better for parent workshops, I would love to see that so that we can begin to shift those times when we can have parents really participate in these opportunities, because it is difficult when they're working and they're tired and they come home and then they got to work again because they got to help their child with their work at home as well.
Yeah. But, you know, let's talk about that for a minute, you know. But it's still important that our parents get involved. It's so important that our parents, again, I'm going to say get involved. We know that through these difficulty times and these uncertainties that you heard Ms. Champagne and Dr. Harvest and our school superintendent talked about, there are activities for parents to chime in. So I am gonna make a plea to all our parents that are out watching tonight, that's on our live Facebook page and Instagram and the social media. Please get involved in what's going on in your child's school, in the school district. Dr. Harvest or Mr. Hassan, what is a number that the parents could call if they want to get involved on the PTAs? And even though we're not physically there, how can they get involved? Because it's so important that our parents know what's going on.
Mayor, a great statement, and I just want to just thank the parents for what they do.
Right.
This work could not get done without the parents, and sometimes we don't think to say thank you, but I know this is also challenging for you as well.
Yes.
I want to just thank the unions, the EOAA, the EOEA, and the other unions, because this is hard work for us all.
Yes.
And I would be remiss if I just didn't thank a lot of the support staff, like custodial staff and the maintenance staff, who go around and get these buildings ready, because it's a lot of work for us all.
Team effort.
It's a team effort, and the students who get on the Zoom calls, being responsible. So, like Ms. Champagne talked about earlier, we talked about accountability. So it's accountability for us all in this work. So again, I just want to thank them.
Hassan, I would say the greatest resource person that parents can reach out to is their child's principal.
That's right.
They can contact the school's main office and talk to the secretary and ask if they can be passed along to the school counselor.
Right.
School counselors can let them know about all the different activities that they have for parents, for students, and how they become involved. And, sometimes parents just need someone to talk to, so they can provide them direction on what it is that they might need the assistance with.
And all the information is actually on the website. So they can link to each school, they can get the phone numbers, they can get the direct email to the principals, so it's a one-stop shop to go right to.
Can we give out the website very quickly? I know Precious and them normally put it up.
Yeah, it's the East Orange School District. They put in the Broward East Orange School District, it pops right up.
Great. And if we can be of any help from the mayor's office, please call Constituent Services at 973-266-5151. We got the website over there also. We got the school district number. Please call us. We are a team, and we're going to try to get the information to everyone that needs the information. Let's talk about this school year in terms of, will there be a standardized test this year?
Okay. And Ms. Champagne, you want to talk about that from the state level and from the federal level, and what we're going to do locally?
So they did offer what would be a short sample standardized level from a state level at the beginning of the year. We did not take that particular assessment, just as we were transitioning back into this remote learning, distance learning format, but we did set up what would be our Form A assessment in math and ELA, this information we're utilizing the data for. It shouldn't be something that was reflected on the child's grading at all, but where we at, was there this loss of instruction from last year transitioning over into this year. This month, we will be doing assessments with regards to the curriculum and alignment to the curriculum. We have put in certain programs inside of the, Linkit is the assessment platform.
So there will be standardized testing this year, that's, yes?
They have this, we're still waiting on the state to determine yes or no for that, but we are doing assessments just in case.
Okay,
There's
so
been
we're for the state.
conversation with regards to the possibility, but it hasn't been removed or it hasn't been said that it's going to happen. I know that last year, at the end of the year, the state decided not to do the standardized test, but we know that the NAEP test was something that was recently offered. So the mayor, I guess, is to be determined with regards to that and instruction coming from the state level.
All right, and thank you for that. I want to just talk about access in terms of technology and internet. If a student is having problems with the internet or getting on any technology, what should they do?
Mayor, they should call the tech help desk, and that number is 973-266-2961. I'll repeat that number again, 973-266-2961, and that information is also on the website. So if you have tech issues dealing with anything you're dealing with, you can contact the number and get immediate support.
Right, I'm going to ask my staff, Fresh, to put that up, please, so we can the parents can always go back to the Facebook page or Instagram, which is going to be up tonight as we have this conversation. Is there anything else besides that? We're going to go through some questions. Fresh, you have any questions that has been? I know you got a lot of them, don't you?
Yeah, man.
You start smiling.
It's probably the most questions I've seen on one of our town halls.
Yeah, let's get some of the questions into those who are on our phone lines.
So we have a question about teachers who do not live in a district and travel from other places to come into East Orange. Does that lend to the COVID numbers that are increasing in East Orange if they so happen to have contracted the virus?
I'm gonna let the experts over there kind of answer that question. Dr. Griffin and then Vic, you can pick up. All right.
Absolutely. And that's a good question. It's a question that we tend to answer relatively frequently. If there is somebody that lives in, or the numbers are based on the jurisdiction that the individual resides within. So if there's a teacher that resides in another jurisdiction and tests positive, it will not count towards East Orange's number of new positive cases. The numbers that we report as East Orange cases are only for East Orange residents.
Okay.
We have
And
another.
we really do have a robust contact tracing piece that we're using here in East Orange, along with our health department. What we do when people have identified that they have been COVID positive, we do have that members of the staff to identify who they've been with. And I can say, since our kids have been in, we've only had one incident with a student. So we really haven't had any students at all.
Speaking of contract tracing, who exactly is responsible for contract tracing, and how is that executed? And how will people be informed if cases to surface within the school district?
So one of the things that we have each and every day when a teacher enters the building, they have to do a screening form. So you're counting on the person being honest, and hopefully with everything that's going on, everyone is being honest. They're asking them about symptoms. They're asking them, have they traveled out of the country? They're asking them, are they around anyone who has tested COVID positive? So those screening forms are read by each of our nurses every day by 9 o'clock a.m. In addition to that, when teachers come to school, they have their temperature taken. For anyone with a temperature, or elevated temperature, they're already denied entrance into the building. Then, if the teacher contacts their principal or contacts their school nurse and says that they have been in contact with someone who is COVID positive, we have them to self-quarantine for 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
And we may have some people in between that, they decide to go get a test, and the test may come out and say that they're negative. We still hold them accountable for being quarantined for those entire 14 days, because we do know that it may take some time for it to come out. So the team consists of every nurse, and we have a nurse. We're a district. We're very fortunate that we have a nurse in each one of our schools. So the team consists of all of the nurses. It consists of the 2 doctors that we have in the district. It consists of myself and our Director of Special Ed Services, and Mr. Couture and Dr. Griffin. So we, between all of us, what we'll do, if there's a concern, I will email them exactly what's going on, and I will get something from the health department that will help to guide us in the right direction for what it is that we're supposed to do. So we've been pretty fortunate in that we have been catching cases along the way and expeditiously putting people out for self-quarantine.
Right, and Dr. Harvard, I want Dr. Griffin to I want to stay on this point. And we talk about folks, when they talk about traveling, and they're talking about not being honest, if they are traveling, then come to the school or come within our students. What's the importance, Dr. Griffin, for folks that, because some folks don't tell you they went out of town, or they just traveled to the Bahamas or went to Puerto Rico, but they come in. What's the effect of them infecting folks and transmitting this COVID throughout the school? What's the importance of really being you just have to be honest. It's an honest merit where people have to tell the truth if they're traveling,
Absolutely. I think
They have to be transparent.
We would certainly characterize not being transparent or not reporting travel to a high-risk area as irresponsible, because you don't know. Even if you're not feeling as though you have any symptoms, it's so important to still report it, because what you don't know can still affect everybody else. Whether or not, again, you're symptomatic or if you're asymptomatic, if you travel to a quote-unquote hotspot, any area that's on the travel advisory, and at this point, we have over 40 states that are listed on the travel advisory, and the spread of COVID is now nationwide. So and also we're seeing it in other countries as well. So if you're traveling, it's so important for you to report that, whether it's to the school district or your employer, so that you keep the work environment or assist in keeping the work environment safe.
Thank you, Dr. Griffin. Fresh, give me some of those questions, please.
Yeah. What is being done about students who have not logged in, the parents have not contacted or said that they are missing school? What wellness checks are being done for students who haven't been participating virtually?
Dr.
Dr.
Harvest has attendance officers to address that. Dr. Harvest?
Yes, so we have attendance officers in our district, so our teachers and administrators, they have been asked that if they have a child who is not participating in instruction, and they haven't been participating, and we go with from 3 days on, what we will do, we will send our attendance officers to the home. So we do that and they have their masks, they have their gloves, and they will visit the home, and they will let the parent know that we're stopping by the house, we want to know why the child is not participating. So we do have the list of students who are not participating, and we do follow up. A couple of times, some of those phone calls, unfortunately, have led to us calling other authorities. If we're not able to get in touch with the child in 2 or 3 days, if we've made repeated attempts to try and find out what's going on, we have to bring in the local police or child protection just to do a wellness check and check up on the child. But we do keep close watch on who is not participating. Why are they not participating? Are they participating because they don't have internet connection? If they don't have the internet connection, we have, with some of our students, provided the internet connection. Are they not participating because they have a laptop? Or they're not participating because their parent is going to work and the parent doesn't really know that they're not participating? So we do follow up with each and every child that is not participating.
Fresh is another question.
Yeah. There was a parent who said that when a sub or a TA subs for a teacher that is absent, the students aren't always focused. What training is in place to make sure that all teachers are aware of how to conduct virtual learning? Or what kind of professional training is being done to make sure everyone if they sub, can still execute the curriculum.
Okay. And we've had minimum more subs than anything because of synchronous and asynchronous learning, but I'll let Ms. Champagne answer that in reference to that follow-up that question.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Hassan. We've been doing training since the summertime on various things and strategies. Because this is something that is new, then there's going to have to be ongoing training. When you're talking about engaging students remotely through what would be a TV screen, then it would be the same thing as when you're starting the teaching element in itself. You have to go through constant training. So we are constantly going through training. We're looking at different ways and different strategies that we're reading up on the research. This is the best way of training. And then we recently had an equity conference where we utilized teachers to share what would be their best practices on remote learning
Right.
and being able to engage the students around instruction.
Great.
Mayor, can I just plug in about
Yes,
sports?
no, anytime. Go
So,
ahead.
Mayor, I just wanted to really give you an update because one of the questions that comes up a lot of times is that now that the state is moving away to go full remote, what are we doing with sports?
Right,
Which
right,
is a
right.
huge question. And a lot of times they say, well, how can you do sports? And that started also when in the summertime when we were talking about whether we're going to have football season
Right,
or not.
people was concerned about that.
Right. So we have to understand that NJSIAA governs high school sports. And the governor recently just got on his press conference on November the 9th and announced that we were going to have winter sports. One of the concerns is that the winter sports will not have any fans for boys basketball, girls basketball, indoor track, as well as girls indoor track wrestling and cheerleading. One of the things they did talk about, it will be no over the state line conferences or games. Because a lot of times, like indoor track, they usually go to Seabreeze, which is in Staten Island, to run track. Usually we go to the Armory in Jersey City. So now we just reserve to just going to Jersey City. We do have an upcoming football game, which is our last football game. And I know, Mayor, you've been to all the football games.
Yeah.
And you've seen how the crowd's there. We're going to go to a no-fan football game for this game. Even though it's homecoming, we will only let the homecoming court parents come just for that moment, and then they will leave just so we can have our last game. And the other last two games will be away, and then no fan games. So we're moving in that direction, just like in winter sports. It'll be no fans right now, and if the curve goes in a different way, then NJSIA will give us the proper guidance. But even currently right now, NJSIA, even though they said we're going to have winter sports, they have not determined when we're going to start the winter sports. So they can actually change the calendar and push winter sports to after February, if that's their choice.
Right.
So we're still waiting for them to give us that guidance, but they did say we're going to have winter sports, but no dates on when tryouts can start, no dates when we can start our first practice, when is the first scrimmage, when is the open day. That's all to be determined, sir.
Right, that's important. And we hope that that the information that you just provided, we hope the parents, our students, the community, and Dr. Griffin going to talk about that in a few, that is so important with these numbers surging in our community that everybody has to take a role in understanding why some of the things that we are shutting down or trying to minimize in terms of people is because we're following the executive order of our governor. And if you watch the news today, he's starting to shut down different stores, restaurants, and we'll talk about that later. So we got to make sure that parents understand. I know some of them have been going to the games and enjoying it, but we're at a point now, everyone, that we got to kind of seize that because we do not want this COVID-19 to start surging in a way that we start getting sick. I do want to talk about, we talked about the engagement with the sports. Let's talk about also there won't be a prom for kids, right? No virtually or anything.
Well, we have not got to that point
Okay,
yet, but we
all right.
will address that as we
Yeah.
always doing. What is called our 30, the 60-day, and the 90-day plan,
Right.
projecting what's out. So, and we will be creative because what you find that in the state of New Jersey, people try to maintain some levels of tradition, and you know that by the time we get to a prom, it'll be a warm season, so we might be able to do something outside. So we're gonna look at what is the best practice at that time.
Right. Listen, that question came from one of my nephews who attend the high school. So I gave them my word that I asked about
Okay.
it. I said, man, look, people ain't thinking about that right now. But, you know, listen, we don't want to take the thunder away from
Yes.
our young people. What I want to do is, anything else, Mr. Superintendent, that you want to elaborate on from the school district side, or Ms. Champagne or Dr. Harvest, before I allow Dr. Griffin really just to go into, because all what we're talking about tonight, and when Dr. Griffin give out the numbers, all this goes together, man. This is a like I said earlier, team effort in terms of the numbers, keep people safe, keep people healthy, what they're not open up, what they open up. Is there anything else that y'all want to talk about in terms of the school district?
I just want to again thank everybody. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, your team.
Yes.
Thank the East Orange School Districts, the Board of Ed. We all in this together. This has never been done before, and,
No.
and I kind of try to stress that a lot. Nobody has the roadmap in any school district. It's all different pieces. You can see one district do this, and you can take something from them, and they want to take something from you as
Yeah.
well. Because this has never been done before. It's not what we call, and when I worked at the Pentagon, a knowledge capsule. So it's not a knowledge capsule. We can go to that capsule and say, okay,
That's
let's
right.
pull that out, and we got a playbook. We didn't
Right.
have a playbook, so we're making this up as we go, and then we're trying to put it together the best way we can. So I ask for your patience. I ask for your flexibility. And also too, we want to make sure that we're also accountable, but we also want you to hold yourselves accountable to this work, because it's all in the best interest of the students. But we also understand that that safety is first for you all, and we want to try to provide those safety measures for you. I always say, if you see something, say something. Make sure you share it to us in a positive manner. Nothing a person says, an educator or a parent or a student, goes unnoticed. We will act on everything that comes to us. And it may not be the result that you always want, but understand we are listening, and it's a collaborative decision at the top. So understand that. But again, I just want to thank you all for working with us, and we're gonna get through this together.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Dr. Harvest or Ms.
Yeah.
Champagne.
Yes.
Now, just publicly, I would really like to thank Dr. Monique Griffith and Mr. Victor Couture. They have helped to make my job so easy, and I thank you, Mayor, for allowing them the opportunity to partner with the district, because they have truly assisted us with the health and safety of our staff and our students, and providing the right direction for when we are hit with these COVID cases. So I just want to say publicly thank you to you and to them for all of their assistance.
Thank you so much. We thank all of you also. Ms. Champagne?
I just would like to say to, the parents, the teachers, to the city as a whole, that we're definitely going through this collectively together, and new and innovative ideas as they come up, we look to implement them in hopes that we can find the best way to ensure instruction for the children of East Orange. That's the biggest fear that I believe we all have, because the children of today is definitely the future for tomorrow.
Right.
And if we don't find a way to get it done right, then what does that future really look like? So just in remembering that we are stronger collectively together than apart. So just in making sure that we're trying to work together for a common goal.
Yes, listen, you couldn't have said that no better. I quite often say to even my staff, none of us asked for none of this, But again, of course, who we are, we're going to persevere. And who we are, we got to, in tough times, we get tough, right? And we get the job done collectively and together. What I want to do, I'm going to just go off script just for a few minutes, because there's several other parents, and I gave them my word that I would give them an opportunity tonight to get their questions answered. Precious, can you give us about a couple more of those questions so folks don't feel that we negated and didn't, get their question answered or their concern?
One question from a parent was that they just started to get the hang of Google Classroom, and now the district is switching over to Schoology. What was the exact purpose for the switch, and how can parents learn more on how to use the platform?
Ms. Champagne.
One of the things I do want to say is that utilization of our district website and parent events, because we have been hosting parent workshops. We will continue to host parent workshops to allow parents to get a hang of it. One of the things is, when you talk about Google Classroom, the Schoology, it doesn't interfere with what is live stream instruction. And I think somewhere in there that I've been talking to parents who have reached out to me directly that they thought that going from Google Classroom to Schoology means that, oh, we're not going to have live instruction. That same link can be placed in Schoology that's placed in Google Classroom. One of the things is a safer element. I saw on the feed that you got kids and different people that are hacking into what would be the Google Classroom, jumping into live stream classrooms and things like that. Schoology allows for a more secured element when you're talking about the internet safety of our children. It also allows for a transparency that is there with regards to what instruction is happening, and allows for us, you want to hold us accountable as well too, for making sure that the things that should be happening inside of these virtual classrooms are happening in the classroom. So there's a lot of elements that speak to enhancement in which the transition is about. And like I said before, change is often difficult, and no one initially ever likes change. But with working on it, it hasn't been something that was cold turkey. So it hasn't been a situation where, okay, we're going to go straight to Google Classroom and we'll go straight to Schoology and we're not going to do Google Classroom. This has been something that's been gradually going throughout the first beginning of the year. I have recently done a survey with regard to the administrators and what they have done as far as making sure that everyone is aware, that parents are aware, including that with what we're doing on the curriculum level as far as the workshop. And we will continue to give workshops as long as we need to give workshops to ensure that everyone is able to navigate through the system.
Thank you so much. First, give me some more questions very quickly, then we're going to jump into COVID report.
There's a parent that said that she's tested her Wi-Fi and her connectivity several times. She wanted to know what is the current status of the internet connectivity in the district. It also seems like the virtual line cuts out, and she wants to know if the school may be responsible for that reason.
That's a good question. If a parent has a concern, she can reach out to the tech team through the tech line, and we will work on that to remediate that problem. Because it's school specific, and it could have been something with that school that day. If it was upgrading, it could have been offline a little bit that day. I would just have to follow up. If that parent can send an email or follow up on the tech team, we can address that immediately.
Yeah.
This one is more of a teacher question.
Okay.
There are teachers who are concerned about people congregating while they are in the building, whether in restrooms or common areas. What are the cleaning mechanisms used to make sure the schools are cleaned? And what sanitation services are you using to make sure the school is being cleaned?
Okay. We follow the CDC guidelines and chemicals. The main thing about conjugating, they're not conjugating now, and we don't want them to conjugate. We want them to come in, go through their screening process, go to the classroom and teach from the classroom. And it's just that simple. And when we got them coming in, like right now, we have really basically 50% of the building coming in Monday and Tuesday, and 50% of the staff coming in on Thursday and Friday. So it's not the whole group of the staff. So if you think about maybe a smaller school, they may only have 30 teachers. So that means 15 teachers coming on Monday and Tuesday, and 15, and they go right to their classroom. So when you think about the building capacity, most of these building capacities, max capacity is 600 people in a building. So if you're only talking about 30 persons, there should be enough space for social distancing, and the bathroom should never be so busy because there's usually multiple bathrooms inside the school. If there's a concern, the principal, they can address it with their principal, and their principal can address it to me.
Thank you for that. Go ahead, one more. Yeah.
One more? All right. One good question about just the health of parents, and we talked about a little bit about the kind of social and mental health that can be for parents. What about teachers? What's being offered for teachers who are also parents, who have to work from home and they teach their own child? What is being done to kind of alleviate some of the stress that they have as being both a teacher and a parent?
So, and that's a great question.
Yes.
And a lot of times, just like we are offering services for our parents, the school district are offering services for their parents. So, just like we get it, the other school districts have to provide some SEL, some social emotional learning and support for parents that are in that position, because we're all in that position right now who have children. We all going home, or we all sitting, we all have our kids either on a half a day on some modified schedule. But I know in my district, the district is constantly sending out stuff to me, and I'm constantly trying to address that. And if I have concerns, they always got ways that I can reach out to the schools.
And I want Dr. Griffin and Victor to chime in.
Is that Dr. Harvest?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr. Harvest.
No, I'm also saying we also do the mindfulness for our staff as well. We teach them the breathing techniques and all of those things as well as we do for our students. So the staff is going through that as well.
Great, great. I think that's important, that we know who to reach out to, from the parents, students, faculty, teachers. Everybody needs to have a resource and a mechanism to talk to somebody if they need the help, so that's good. I want Dr. Griffin to chime in on the COVID piece, and also we had a few months ago, we had a panel of individuals who talked about stress, anxiety, mental, emotional breakdown. So we also making sure that on the city side and our health department side that we provide resources and information pertaining to that also, so y'all can also use our resources. So look, with that, Precious, are there any more questions? That's about it, you sure? Because y'all will tell me no more, then when I go home tonight, it'd be about 35 questions that we didn't answer. But we want, look, to all the parents out there, to all the folks who are chiming in, we want to get to all y'all questions, right? But I know that we are at a time normally with our panel, and we want to give an update with our health department very quickly. If your question hasn't been answered tonight, please reach out to the school district, or please call my office, Mayor's Office of Constituent Services, and we're going to do our best. Even call the health department. There's a health question. Please feel free to call the health department, because we post the numbers on live screen every time we come on to these virtual meetings. So if there's a number that you're missing that we haven't posted, please reach out to us. Dr. Griffin, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm asking you to give an update on this COVID, an update on this surge that we're having, and what's the importance of everything that we just talked about. You can give it just an overview and close out with what we need to be doing in the next couple of weeks or a few months from now.
Absolutely, Mayor. First, I do want to thank Superintendent Hassan, Dr. Harvis, and Ms. Champagne, and even Ms. Santos, who's not with us tonight, but for just the continued collaboration and the effort that they're putting forward to make sure that the children in the school district and teachers and all employees actually remain safe. And to Superintendent Hassan's point, there's a current spike. We knew and we expected that there would be an increase in the number of cases come this time, with flu season and some other factors being present, and we are seeing it. We're seeing it locally, we're seeing it across the country, we're seeing it across the state. And so, again, it's not something that we weren't expecting, and we did experience a little bit of a lull, and here we are. So within East Orange, we currently have a total number of 2,534 positive cases. And again, this is a total number since March. We've identified 2,534 positive cases, and now that number represents the fact that we have identified 30 new COVID-19 cases since yesterday, and 193 since last week's town hall meeting. So the number is growing, and it's growing relatively quickly. But we also look at the severity of the cases, and within the city, the number of COVID-related deaths is 234, which represents one more since last week. As far as the wards are concerned, in the first ward, there are a total, or have been a total of 404 positive cases. In the second ward, 464. In the third ward, 548. In the fourth ward, 530. And within the fifth ward, 563. And so we continue to monitor what's occurring within the city. And at this point, there is no one location that is identified, or we've identified as a hotspot. So wherever you're going within the city, wherever you're going within the county or the state, be mindful of all of the safety guidelines. Within Essex County, the total number of positive cases is 28,850, and that represents an increase in 2,822 positive cases since our last town hall on Wednesday. As far as the COVID-related deaths, there's a total of 1,933 deaths, COVID-related deaths within Essex County. As far as the state is concerned, the number of positive cases is 266,986. And the total statewide number of COVID-related deaths is 14,694. And so, again, it's not wise to think that this is the same situation that we were experiencing in the spring. There are some similarities, for sure, but there are some other factors that are new, such as the fact that we're in the midst of the flu season. We know that we're entering into the colder months. We know that more people are going to be retreating indoors as opposed to taking advantage of the nice weather outside. And so there's several things that we do need you to continue to be mindful of. So yes, we know more about the virus because we have been doing this since March. We know that there are general symptoms. We're aware of that. We also know about the importance of wearing face coverings, washing your hands, and also distancing yourselves. But, frankly, there's too much movement. We have so many individuals that are moving around as though COVID is not still a very contagious respiratory illness. And we have individuals that are hanging out, we have individuals that are visiting places and engaging with other people that are not truly essential for them to be engaging with at this point. And we know that for many people it's an attempt to get back to normal, and they're tired of the isolation, and we understand that, but it's so important to continue to be safe. And we also know that the holidays are approaching, quickly approaching. We are now in November, and we're a few weeks away from Thanksgiving and also some other holidays as well. And for many people, holidays mean getting together with people. And this year has to be treated differently than past years. So we recommended in early October that you start considering different ways that you can modify your holiday plans so that you can remain safe, and we can't stress that enough. So one of the things that we do want to strongly recommend is that you do not travel. Don't travel unless it's absolutely necessary. As I mentioned before, there are 45 states now on the state's travel advisory, which means the majority of our states are experiencing the same type of spread that we're experiencing here within New Jersey. And also during the holidays, we're encouraging you not to gather for the holidays. Last week, the mayor spoke a little bit about his plans and the adjustments that he's making related to the holidays and making sure that he engages with family via Zoom, and that's something that we're encouraging people to do as well, because it is important for you to be mindful of the fact that with students returning from college or individuals getting together, you are now, if you choose to gather, you're creating a scenario where you're mixing generations as well, and you're mixing individuals who may have chronic illnesses with other individuals who may be asymptomatic, not realizing that they may have the virus or have contracted the virus. And so in that way, it can spread among individuals and you won't even know it. So we don't want there to be multiple gatherings or multiple events where the virus can spread from one individual to another or significantly impact a family. And so it's important to be mindful of that. But if for some reason, you still choose to gather, it's important for you to limit the number of attendees. We encourage you to limit it actually to no more than 2 households, and also wear face coverings even indoors during that time, even when you're not eating or you're not drinking. And it's important also to consider how you're going to manage the food. So we're not encouraging that you sit around a table. We're encouraging instead that you offer food via a buffet style. And if you have individuals that can serve, that you limit the number of individuals who do serve, because we want to make sure that we're not sharing any type of utensils, and you limit the opportunity for the virus to spread from one individual to the next. And then again, we know that some individuals are stricter than others as it pertains to the COVID-19 safety guidelines. And so for you, if you're hosting, it's important to really have these discussions early with the individuals that you're looking to invite so that you all are on the same page well before people show up at your door. And then also, not everyone feels the same about COVID-19. So if you're uncomfortable even after receiving an invitation to a holiday gathering. If you're uncomfortable, just opt politely not to go. And, make sure that you move in a manner that you can be comfortable with, but also that keeps your safety in mind. We have more recommendations. I won't go through them now, but just know that we will be publishing a list of holiday recommendations as we all prepare for the holiday season and in the upcoming months and even in this month as well. But also know that we are still offering testing, and it's important for you to take advantage of the testing that we're offering. If you have any questions about COVID or even your status, you can really go anywhere to any provider, but as a municipality, we're still offering the testing as well. And our next testing event is going to be on November 20th at Raleigh Park Fieldhouse from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then I do want to thank the faith-based organizations. We did have a call today, and we know that there are many individuals working on behalf of the community to keep members safe, to keep congregants safe, and to keep the community at large safe. So we do want to thank you for your partnership as well. And if there's any faith-based organization that does want to be a part of our mailing list, please make sure that you contact us at the Health Department. You, of course, always are in contact with the Mayor's Office of Constituent Services, but certainly feel free to contact the Health Department as well at 973-266-5480 if you'd like to join our mailing list as well. And Mayor, if it's okay, I'd like to turn it over to Victor
Yes, I was going to say that.
talk about the executive order and
Yes.
some of the restrictions.
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good,
Thank you.
Thank you, Vic.
The point to talk to the city of East Orange. I just want to add a couple of things to all that Griffith has been saying concerning resident safety during this period of celebrations, especially Thanksgiving. One of the things I want to add is that, coupled with the weather that we have, a lot of people are staying indoors the more. We need, with the celebrations, we have to curtail our smoking, to prevent the kids from secondhand smoke, and also reduce the amount of alcohol that we consume indoors, because that kind of increases the tendency for us to take risks, and those that can include not being non-compliant with the COVID prevention stipulations of using face masks and all that. So that's part of just what I want to add to that. And also concerning the executive order that's passed recently, Executive Order 194 by the Executive Governor of New Jersey, Governor Murphy. No outdoor dining will cease between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. moving forward. Also, curbside, barside seating would be prohibited in the bars, and also restaurants that intend to have more clients would have to have barriers within them if they are going to breach the 6 feet safe distance, that physical distance that is imposed. Also, take out and deliveries can continue after 10 p.m. These are some of the restrictions, some of the new stipulations that the governor has passed, and we expect that restaurants and bars would comply with this order, because we intend to enforce them very strictly. Also, I would just add that please, as you celebrate, please do it at home as much as possible. Maintain within your household, and be safe. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vic. Listen, again, we had a great panel tonight. We're very happy that we was able to have this discussion with our superintendent, our assistant superintendent, with Ms. Champagne, with Dr. Harvard, and weekly Dr. Monique Griffin is on, and our health officer, Victor Cote. we thank everybody really for joining, but I know that earlier we was closing out, and I asked Mr. Hassan, do you have any closing remarks? Do you have any closing or?
Again, I just wanted to share what I shared before, Mayor, and I just appreciate everyone, and we're going to just keep moving it forward. But again, if anybody have any questions or concerns, they can always forward it to the district.
Yes.
Just like you have your line, we have our line, and
Yes.
we respond to everyone who sends us information or requests or concerns. But I just like to reiterate, I just want to just thank all the associations who work with us. I thank all our partners. I thank everybody who's given 100% in this pandemic, because it's truly hard work.
Yes.
And just maintain a certain level of humility in doing this process, because we all get a little bit of stress over this, but try to maintain a level of humility so we can work together and get this work done for the students.
Well, thank you for that. Listen, we're gonna. There's a lot of information. As I said earlier, we're gonna close out. I wanted to stay on a little longer tonight, so that way all the concerns, all the questions that our parents had, our students had, our teachers and faculty, to give all your opportunity to hear it directly from our superintendent, our assistant superintendent. I know a lot of you chimed in on Facebook. And again, as our superintendent said, if those questions hasn't been answered, we will definitely make sure you get your questions answered. And again, we said, you can call over to the mayor's office of constituent service. You heard it from Dr. Griffin. Listen, 35 weeks of talking about this COVID-19, 35 weeks in bringing these weekly meetings to the community. I want to really thank everybody. I want to thank our board members, Terry, Tucker, who is the president, and all the board members, because they have been truly a partnership in these decisions that we had to make, especially the school district had to make. So we thank all of you. We want to thank our unions, EOEA, who has been a partner with the city and the other unions. Thank the teachers. We thank all our students and the parents and all the faculty that has been a part of this movement. Listen, none of this is easy for none of us, right? But I know for a fact we have been driven into this pandemic again. We're coming right back where we were if we don't be careful, right? But we have to work together, East Orange. We have to be that village where our superintendent talked about earlier, and Dr. Harvard and Ms. Champagne. And if we're going to be that village, I want to close out with this, then all of us are going to have to help. You can't come on criticizing and not trying to be part of helping. All of us going to have to join hands. All of us going to have to, when we see something, say something. All of us going to have to tell the young people who has been doing an excellent job. These young people, what they have went through in terms of the learning piece, we commend our young people, and we're proud of our young people. But we have to keep uplifting them. We have to uplift the parents. We have to uplift each other. So we're going to close out tonight because, again, we got another task in front of us. And I'm asking all of you to join us. The East Orange Council has been very instrumental in also the decisions that we have been making right here in the city of East Orange. Our governor down to our county executive, on all levels, our Assemblywoman Brittany Timberlake, our freeholder who works close with us, Tashami Cooper. We are in this together, so I ask all of us, if you're part of this city and you're part of trying to move forward with this COVID-19, because we constantly say we're in this together. So if we're in this together, we asking for your help. We asking for your support. If you have any questions, concerns, just call. Because sometimes don't allow people to tell you something that's not true, right? Get the real answer. Call the superintendent. Call Dr. Harvard. Call Ms. Champagne. Call the board members. That's what they're for. Call the East Orange City Council. Call our health department. But again, thank all of you for joining us tonight. We're going to do this. I ask everybody to stay vigilant. I ask everybody to continue to practice social distance. I ask everybody, as Dr. Griffin said, every week in Victor, Let's keep washing those hands when you're touching things. And let's continue to make sure that we take care of each other and wear those masks. Wear your mask. And don't throw them on the ground. Put them in the garbage can. We need your help. We need your support. We need each other. We're going to tune out. We're going to see all of you next week. Please stay safe. May God bless you. May God bless your families. And may God bless East Orange. Let's go East Orange. That's that East Orange pride. Let's do this.